Needless to say, I'm saying wreck. They'll say that, oh, baby, you're wreck. Oh, hey there. Didn't notice you guys there. So, if you've been following me on Twitter, you'll know that I really enjoyed Enter the Spider-Verse. Probably a bit too much. I've seen it in theaters 3 times now, and it's a movie I really needed to see at this exact point in my life. You know, something that can uplift me a little bit, something that can inspire me for doing things in the future. Because this marks the first project I've done in weeks, because the Punch-Out retrospective and the Edgelords and the Darksiders thing, those were all videos I wrote and voice-overed back in November. And, you know, lots of people have been asking me what I thought about Enter the Spider-Verse, and now I'm more than happy, and now I'm also ready to do so. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's just dive right in. Sony Pictures wants to make more Spider-Man films, because as long as they keep making them, they can keep making them. So with Homecoming, Venom, Spider-Verse, and the Morbius film, they have all their dials pointed squarely at the wall crawler for decades to come. That's not gonna change. When I first heard that there was gonna be a CG animated film centering around Miles Morales, I was pretty stoked. Then I heard that Sony Pictures Animation, creators of Unwatchable Garbo as the Emoji Movie, were involved. I was distinctly less stoked. Then I heard Phil Lord, one of the co-creators behind Clone High and the Lego Movie, was writing and producing it. The fires were stoked once more. Then the first few trailers hit, and it was like one of those old clickbait articles. You'll be spending your afternoon picking your jaw up off the floor. It was stylized, bold, and incredibly unique looking. It also kinda had a serious tone, which is a bit odd as the final product happens to be one of the funniest movies I've seen all year, but, you know, we'll get to that later.
Oh, are you okay?
I'm Miles.
I'm Gwanda.
Wait, your name is Gwanda?
Yes.
So my expectations were pretty high going in for this superhero film in a year that was Chef Boyardee overstuffed with superhero films. But what makes this one different? Well, if the title and trailers didn't give it away, this is our first deep dive into the multiverse. There's dozens, nay thousands, nay Mageddons of spider people throughout parallel dimensions. Some of them are pretty similar, and some of them are super not. In this story, we are focused on the tale of Miles Morales, who has the power and responsibility thrust upon him that he never really asked for. In his universe, there already is an established Spider-Man, but due to, you know, fate, destiny, or Madam Web or something, he now has to decide what to do with said power. Along the way, he meets other Spider-Men, women, robots, and pig cartoons, as they all have to find a way to get back home and stop a villain's plot at the same time. It's a very complicated, but at the same time not confusing journey with a fairly simple end goal. What you can expect is a kinetic energy to all the proceedings, endearing characters, wonderful voice acting, and a strong message that's fairly unique in the superhero genre.
You're like me.
That is Enter the Spider-Verse in a nutshell, or in a spider egg nest sack. That's fucking gross. Cut that. Now, as per my other movie reviews on this channel, like A Quiet Place or Infinity War, I'm gonna break everything down to 2 simple categories. What I liked and what I didn't like.
Okay.
Told you it was simple. Now, what I enjoyed about Spider-Verse was just about everything.
Sure.
The art direction, the score, the main plot, etc., but I think that's all a given. What I really want to focus on is the distinct message of this spider film that's handling subject matter that's just been barely touched upon in all the previous ones. Spidey can be anyone. He's not a Tony Stark billionaire or some super powerful alien who has a grand destiny. He could be you, or me, or even some Porky Pig ripoff. What makes you Spider-Man is deciding what type of person you want to be. Like, if you want to be some edgy asshole who kills them all, then you're Kane. But if you want to help complete strangers, even if it's going to be a long, hard road, chances are you're gonna be a pretty damn good Spider-Man. Now, even though Miles is scared, inexperienced, and very, very sweaty, he wants to protect his family and friends. At first, he thinks maybe he can just relocate them, but once he realizes the full scope of the power and responsibility he's gained, he's like, nah man, I gotta do this. I might not be the best, but I'm gonna try. Hell, even Peter Parker flirted with just being paid as a Chikara wrestler at first, but
Hey, Freak Show! You're going nowhere! I got you for 3 minutes! 3 minutes of playtime!
in most superhero films, especially with origin stories, there's gonna be a good guy. You know he's a good guy because every so often they'll cut away and show the bad guy, and he usually does bad things to show the contrast between the two. That doesn't happen in Spider-Verse so much. Yeah, Kingpin is there, and he has some motivations, but he's an already established villain, and the story is not about him. It's not even like 15% about him. That's the other main thing I loved about this film, because it wasn't focused on getting revenge or beating up the bad guy, but rather having the confidence to do what's right and what's decent despite it being next to impossible to do so. When Miles meets all the other spider peoples, everyone just gets enough backstory to show Miles that even though they've had their own personal tragedies, they are still doing what they can with the power they have. They're not giving up, and while it might be rough early goings for Miles, he can't either.
What spider people are there?
Save it for Comic-Con.
What's Comic-Con?
This is such a great central motivator for the film itself, and pairing him with a down-on-his-luck, lumpily shaped Peter B. Parker is also one of the core strengths of the film.
Let go! Be in the moment!
I am in the moment. It's a terrible moment.
This dynamic naturally changes throughout the running time, and while the relationship is a bit abrasive at first, they quickly warm up to each other in ways that make logical sense. Then, of course, is Spider-Gwen. I love you so much.
My name is Gwen Stacy. For the last 2 years, I've been the one and only Spider-Gwen.
What can I say? I love this version of Gwen. She doesn't steal the limelight from Miles, but at the same time, she's a constant once she's been introduced.
Hey.
Okay, then.
It's neat because she's kind of more focused than Peter, which also makes her unique in her own right. She's a mentor to Miles's mentor in a way. Then there's of course Penny Parker and Peter Porker, who are mostly used as one-off gags, I'm gonna be honest here, but they're so fun you don't really care. Spider-Man Noir, however, is fucking money to me. This is my favorite design of him by far, and there's something about casting Nick Cage, making him sound older and gruffer, that now makes complete sense to me.
Sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything.
I always viewed Noir as just another youngish Peter who just pushes the limits way more often, but now I can't unsee and unhear him as this hard-boiled Humphrey Bogart type character. In fact, I like all the takes in Spider-Verse over the versions I was familiar with. I like this Miles more than, say, the Miles in Spidey PS4. I like this Gwen more. I like Miles' dad. I love this Prowler, and I love some of the other villains that show up later. The constant stream of surprises I've gotten while watching this movie have been like one of the absolute highlights, especially that post-credits scene. I don't care if your kidneys are going to burst with pee, you stay after the credits. You do not miss that shit. I could just go on and on here, and I would, but I think there's no need. The movie is just a visual blowjob for your eyes. That's the different art styles for specific dimensions, the super real and authentic depiction of New York, and more specifically Brooklyn, and just how genuinely funny the script is. And I can't expect any different from Phil Lord.
Oh, you know her. Very cool.
That being said, nothing is quite perfect, so let me break down the things I really didn't enjoy about... Nah, just kidding, it's pretty much perfect. Okay, honestly though, I actually don't have any real complaints, just merely some, like, observations, if that's a better way to put it. I think the first thing that I can say is that, look, if you really love interesting villains with a lot of motivations, if that's what really gets your motor running, there's very little of that in Spider-Verse. With that being said, it's not what the filmmakers were going for at all. There is a distinct difference between spending time on trying to make some generic CGI monstrosity seem interesting versus simply focusing all your energy towards the story you want to tell. So this is merely making a note that even with that knowledge going in, if you have a hard-on for villains, you might be let down by this.
You're not stopping this. Not today.
However, there's one actual aspect of the Rogues Gallery in Spider-Verse that I felt was genuinely mishandled. Kingpin employs several villains throughout the film, and I don't think it's a spoiler, but Tombstone is one of them. He does essentially nothing throughout the story, but another villain that does appear later, who I shall not name, is also just kind of hired muscle. This villain comes out of nowhere, spouts a few lines, and is quickly forgotten about. Combining those two characters' functions, or axing one of them completely, might have made everything a bit neater. While it's minor, it does come across as a missed opportunity to me. You know, maybe Spider-Ham could have had one extra scene where he does some more madcap cartoon shit. That crazy scene where Miles and Peter are being dragged around New York City by the subway maybe goes on a bit too long. I am fucking picking some nits here. Conclusion, go see Spider-Verse. Go see Spider-Verse multiple times with different friends if you can. If you're into superhero movies, you'll love it. If you're not into superhero movies, you'll love it. If you love good art and animation, you'll love it. I'm not trying to be grandiose here, but this is a movie that I personally needed right about now, and I'm aware that could color my perception a bit, but I've had enough time and viewings to think about it solely as a piece of writing and entertainment as well, and aside from the really minor things I mentioned, I struggle to find any lasting faults with it.
Do animals talk in this dimension? Because I don't want to freak them out.
With all that being said, what is the official Flophouse rating for Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse? Shabow! Okay, I hope everyone enjoyed this. If there's any other movies or games or hentais I can review, just drop a comment thing below and I'll see what I can do. You know, thanks so much for watching and I'll hopefully see you guys next time. Enter the Spider-Verse, go see it, it's good. I liked it.
Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, wealth and fame, he's ignored, action is his reward to him. Life